The soft glow of candlelight reflected off the crystal glasses as I watched the grand opening of saffron and sage from the kitchen pass. My heart swelled with pride seeing every table filled, hearing the delighted murmurs as guests tasted our signature dishes. 3 years of planning, saving, and secret preparation had led to this moment. Then I saw them walk in. David Chun, my ex-husband, strutted through the door with Melissa Torres, his former secretary and current fiancée, on his arm. She wore the red Valentino dress I'd caught them picking out together 2 years ago, back when he was still supposed to be at a business conference. "Can you believe the waiting list for this place?" David's voice carried across the dining room. 6 months. Good thing Melissa's yoga instructor knows the manager. I stayed hidden behind the kitchen door, watching Raj, my maitre d', escort them to table 7, ironically, the same number as the hotel room where I'd caught them. "Order whatever you want, babe," David said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. My ex-wife could never afford to eat here. She's probably at home right now, eating instant ramen and wondering how she'll make rent. Melissa giggled, the sound grating against my ears like nails on a chalkboard. "Don't be mean, David. I'm sure she's doing adequately." "Adequately?" He laughed. "Last I heard, she was begging her sister for money. Turns out that little community college degree in hospitality management doesn't pay much. Should have listened when I told her to be realistic about her abilities." My sous chef, Antoine, touched my shoulder. "You okay, boss?" "Perfect," I said, straightening my chef's jacket. "Send out the amuse-bouche. Let's give them a meal they'll never forget." Let me rewind and explain how I went from desperate divorcee to owner of the city's hottest new restaurant. I'm Nadia Rahman, 38, and for 15 years I was Mrs. David Chun, devoted wife and support system to a rising financial consultant. I'd put my culinary dreams on hold to support his career, playing the perfect corporate wife at endless networking events. "Your little cooking hobby is cute," David would say whenever I mentioned culinary school. "But let's be practical. I make more than enough for both of us." So I channeled my passion into dinner parties that helped him land clients, perfecting recipes that had executives begging for my cards. "Your wife is a genius," they'd tell David. "She should open a restaurant." He'd laugh it off. "Why would she do that when she has everything she needs at home?" Everything changed the day I came home early from visiting my sick mother. David's car was in the driveway, along with an unfamiliar Toyota. I found them in our bed, in the sheets I'd picked out for our anniversary. "It's not what it looks like," was his pathetic first response. Melissa had grabbed her clothes and run. David tried to gaslight me. I was overreacting. It meant nothing. Didn't I want to work things out? The divorce was brutal. David had hidden assets, claimed I'd contributed nothing to our wealth since I hadn't worked. Thanks to the prenup he'd insisted on for both our protection, I walked away with minimal alimony and our small condo. "You'll come crawling back," he'd smirked outside the courthouse. "What marketable skills do you have?" "Hosting dinner parties." That night, I sat in my empty condo with a glass of wine and made a decision. I wouldn't crawl back. I'd soar forward. I sold the condo and moved in with my sister temporarily. The proceeds, plus my grandmother's secret inheritance she'd left me, which I'd never told David about, thank God for separate accounts, gave me starting capital. I enrolled in culinary school, working nights at a high-end restaurant to pay bills. My classmates were a decade younger, but my life experience and years of informal training put me ahead. I graduated with honors and a job offer from La Bernardine. But I didn't want to work for someone else. I wanted my own place. For 2 years, I worked 3 jobs, saved every penny, and planned. I found investors who believed in my vision, former dinner party guests who remembered my food. I secured a lease in the trendy Riverside district. I hired the best staff I could afford, many of whom took pay cuts to be part of something special. I also made strategic decisions. The restaurant was registered under an LLC, Amara Hospitality Group. All press releases mentioned only Chef Rahman. I stayed off social media, letting the food speak for itself. The soft launch was invitation only for food critics and influencers. The reviews were spectacular. "Chef Rahman is a revelation," wrote the Times. "Saffron and Sage delivers an unforgettable culinary journey." The 6-month waiting list wasn't a PR stunt. It was real. Now, watching David and Melissa peruse the menu, I made a decision. They'd have the full experience. "Table 7, I told Antoine. "Full tasting menu. My compliments." "Boss, that's a $500 value." "Trust me." The first course arrived. my signature saffron-infused scallops with microgreens and champagne foam. David had always mocked my fancy plating, but I watched him close his eyes in bliss at the first bite. "This is incredible," Melissa gushed. "David, you have to try this." Course after course arrived, each more elaborate than the last. My servers, briefed on the situation, provided impeccable service. Other diners watched enviously as Table 7 received dish after stunning dish. "Sir," Raj approached after the 7th course, "the chef would like to send out a special creation if you're amenable." David, now thoroughly impressed and slightly drunk on paired wines, waved magnanimously. "Of course. Send my compliments to the chef. This Rahman person is a genius." I almost laughed. He'd eaten my cooking for 15 years and never called it genius. The special creation was my piece de resistance, a deconstructed lamb biryani that played with traditional flavors in modern forms. It was the dish I'd perfected during our marriage, the one his mother had said was better than her own. David's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Recognition flickered in his eyes. But no, impossible. His pathetic ex-wife could never. "Everything to your satisfaction?" I asked, stepping out of the kitchen in my pristine chef's jacket, my name embroidered on the chest. David's wine glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the table. Red wine splashed across Melissa's Valentino dress. "Nadia," he choked out. "Chef Rahman," I corrected pleasantly. "Welcome to Saffron and Sage. I hope you've enjoyed your meal." The entire restaurant had gone quiet, sensing drama. Melissa's face cycled through confusion, recognition, and horror. You own this place?" David sputtered. "I do. Built it from nothing, actually. Turns out my little cooking hobby and worthless hospitality degree had some value after all. But you were broke. The divorce taught me valuable lessons," I said calmly. "Like the importance of keeping some cards close to your chest. And the freedom that comes from not having someone constantly diminishing your dreams." Melissa tugged at David's sleeve. "We should go." "Actually," I said, "I have an announcement for the room, if you'd stay just a moment longer." I moved to the center of the dining room, where Raj handed me a champagne glass and tapped it for attention. "Thank you all for joining us for our grand opening," I began. "Saffron and Sage represents a dream deferred but not destroyed. To those who believed in me, especially my sister Amira and my investors who saw potential where others saw only limitations, thank you." I raised my glass higher. "And to those who doubted, who said I'd never amount to anything without them, thank you as well. Your disbelief was the fuel I needed." I looked directly at David. "Tonight's meal for Table 7 has been complimentary, a gift to remind us all that the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served as a perfectly executed 7-course tasting menu." The room burst into applause. Someone started filming. I later learned the video went viral with the caption, "Chef owns ex-husband who cheated with the hostess." David's face had turned purple. "This is harassment. I'll sue." "For what?" I asked mildly. "Giving you a free $500 meal? For being successful despite your predictions? Please do. I'm sure the publicity will help with our waiting list." Melissa stood abruptly, wine still dripping from her dress. "Come on, David. Let's go somewhere with actual class." "McDonald's is open late," suggested someone from Table 3, causing ripples of laughter. As they headed for the door, I called out one last time. "David, your credit card was declined when you tried to hold your reservation. Fortunately, we don't require deposits from real VIP guests. Have a lovely evening." The door slammed behind them. The restaurant erupted in cheers and applause. Raj discreetly high-fived me as I returned to the kitchen. "Boss," Antoine grinned. "That was beautiful. But giving away a $500 meal. Worth every penny," I said. "You can't put a price on closure." The rest of the night was a blur of congratulations and orders. Food bloggers who'd witnessed the scene immediately posted about it, tagging the restaurant. Our Instagram followers doubled overnight. My sister Amira called an hour later, laughing hysterically. "Someone just sent me the video. Nadia, his face when you walked out. And Melissa's dress. I didn't plan the wine spill," I admitted. "That was just karma with perfect timing." The next morning, I woke to 57 missed calls and hundreds of texts. The video had indeed gone viral. Food Network wanted an interview. 3 publishers inquired about a cookbook deal. The waiting list for Saffron and Sage extended to a full year. But the best message was from David's mother, who'd always been kind to me. "I saw the video. Good for you, Beta. P.S. Is the lamb biryani really on the menu? I've missed it. I texted back. For you, Auntie, always. No reservation needed. A week later, a familiar face appeared at the host stand during lunch service. Melissa, alone, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap. Table for one? Raj asked professionally. Could I speak to Nadia? Chef Rahman. I came out, curious. She looked smaller, somehow deflated. I wanted to apologize, she said quietly. Not just for everything, but for that night. The things David said about you. I knew they weren't true. I knew about your dinner parties, your talent. I should have said something. Why didn't you? She shrugged miserably. Because it made me feel better about what I did. If you were pathetic, I wasn't a homewrecker. I was doing you a favor. And now I know David only values women as accessories. He's already telling people I'm too ambitious since I got promoted to marketing director. She laughed bitterly. Funny how success makes you less attractive to insecure men. I studied her for a moment, then made a decision. Table 12 is free. Tell Raj you're my guest. Try the salmon. And Melissa? Congratulations on the promotion. Success suits you better than borrowed designer dresses. 6 months later, Saffron and Sage had expanded to a second location. I published a cookbook that spent 10 weeks on the bestseller list. David, I heard through the grapevine, had lost several major clients who'd been fans of my dinner parties and didn't appreciate how he'd treated me. The universe has a funny way of course-correcting. On the first anniversary of the restaurant's opening, my team surprised me with a cake shaped like Table 7. Written in frosting were the words, "Revenge is a dish best served by Chef Rahman." Very funny, I said, laughing. But remember, this was never about revenge. It was about rebirth. Antoine grinned. Sure, boss. But you have to admit, the look on his face was the perfect garnish. He wasn't wrong. That night, as I looked out at the full dining room, I thought about the journey. David's betrayal had shattered my life, but from those pieces, I'd built something entirely my own. Something no one could take away or diminish. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Heard about your success. Always knew you had it in you. Dinner sometime. D. I deleted it without responding and went back to my kitchen, my kingdom, my dream made real. The best revenge, I'd learned, wasn't proving someone wrong. It was proving yourself right. And that transformation, like any perfect dish, required the right ingredients. Pain transformed into purpose, doubt refined into determination, and seasoned generously with self-belief. As for David, he was just a bitter aftertaste, washed away by the sweet satisfaction of success. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.